Good evening, folks. Welcome back to the channel. Good to see you. It always is. I hope you're doing well. Gonna be going through the rest of these matches in round 3 for today. As always, we'll be sure to go through each and every one of them. Get your comments in with your predictions. Let me know what you're going for. Share with the group. Don't be shy. Anything that I'm going for personally will be in that pinned comment. Feel free to go and check that out. You do with it what you will. You can take it if you want. You can leave it if you must. And before we get started, like the video, if you'd be so kind. Get yourself subscribed to the channel. If you're not already, it would be an honour to welcome you to the squad and get yourself involved. You can support the channel too if you want. Don't feel obliged. There's a link in that description, in the pinned comments. You can just hit that thanks under the video. It's entirely up to you. And we'll waste no more time with it. How did we get on yesterday? Did we enjoy the matches? Yes, no. Did we win? Did we lose? Did we just come close? Just the one for me. Very grateful that it was just the one as well. Echeverry on the spread. No dice. No dice. Kind of been a reoccurring theme this week, but it's alright. We're all in the same boat. Everyone seems to be struggling. It's been one of them weeks. I like to think I've done more than enough damage over the course of the season to be able to afford a bit of a snide week. But I appreciate you all hanging in there, staying positive, because we all need that. That's it. That's what we want. It's what the channel is about. Got to help each other out, haven't we? Especially in weeks like this. But we'll see what we can get today. See if there's anything better. And let's get it on. Let's get down to business. So first off, for us today, it's going to be Gabe Diallo and Taylor Fritz. I'll be going with Taylor Fritz in this one. Feels kind of wrong going against Taylor Fritz at the moment, doesn't it? Especially with the form that he's in. I think you could trust him to get this one done. Much more trustworthy on the surface as well. I mean, Gabe Diallo, let's not pretend like he hasn't had a really good season. 30 wins, 20 losses on the year, 33 and 13 for Taylor Fritz. It's quite impressive. It is quite impressive. I don't necessarily think Gabe Diallo was that great on the hard court. Well, what I seen from Gabe Diallo at the start of the season, it weren't that great. Not too great at all, to say the least. 12-9 on the surface this year. 8 of those matches coming in qualifying, and he didn't even win all of the qualifying matches. Yeah, I'll get them up really quick. These are the people he's beat. Someone I've never heard of in Hong Kong, Hugo Grenier, Carbias Baena, got beat by Lorenzo Musetti, beat by Sonego in Auckland, beat Luca Nardi in the Australian Open, taken out by Karen Khachanov. He beat 2 qualifiers again. Matteo Bellucci was one of them. Absolutely smoked by Tommy Paul in Mexico. Qualifying again, Indian Wells, didn't even qualify for the Indian Wells, ended up getting beat by Ethan Quinn. Came back as the lucky loser, had a dog fight with Sang, and then got absolutely smoked by Artifice. Next, we've got Miami. Exact same story in that one. Takes out Watanuki in qualifying, ends up getting beat by Brandon Holt. Lucky loser once again. Easy game. Echeverry runs into Artifice, gets fucking beat again. Well, he had to pull out of that one, so it is what it is. And we went on to the clay. More of the same, pretty much. Went on to the grass. He became one of the best players on the grass. He took that title over in Den Bosch. He had a decent run over in Madrid on the clay. I forgot to mention that too. But then we come back to the hard court, 1-1 in Washington. He takes out Fabian Marozsan, gets walked by Ben Shelton, and then he had a rather decent match against Matteo Gigante. Seems to be noticing a trend. I seem to be noticing a trend. Not only is he not performing that well on the hard court, anytime he seems to be getting that step up in opponents on the hard, not even a step up. I mean, Sonego's beating him, catching off, You're getting walked by Tommy Paul, Artifice. I don't think there's much down for you against this version of Taylor Fritz. He's been, his hard court game weren't much better to start the season. He has come into form a lot more since then, but I suppose the same could probably be said about Gabe Diallo. I mean, 16-6 on the surface for Taylor Fritz. It's better than 12-9. It's better than 12-9. He's just playing better. Now, these have played each other once before. That was in Wimbledon this year, and it was pretty much as close as it's going to get. Close as it's going to get. Took Taylor Fritz all 5 sets to get past Gabe Diallo. But like we said, both of these kind of give the best tennis that we've seen anyway from them this season over on the grass. So a close game it was. Just going off what we've seen already, I would have to assume Taylor Fritz is probably a lot more suitable to win this game, although I will add, even though he managed to beat Carbias, I say managed to beat him, he was always going to beat him, he couldn't have lost. It was a hell of a lot closer than I ever thought it was going to be. A bit too close for comfort. He was a 1.0 minus fucking whatever favourite in that one. 7-5 in a tiebreak. Smoked him in the tiebreak, don't get me wrong, but probably a lot closer than what you thought that was going to be against the current version of Carbias, especially on the hard court. But a win's a win. Same with Gabe Diallo. That could have there was a moment in that match where it looked like it could have extended out into the third, but he managed to get a grip of that. Both of them won in straight sets. We expected both of them to do so. Maybe they didn't deliver, entirely the best level in the first round. Maybe they can both up it for this. I'll always back Taylor Fritz in this spot. 1.3 is the price you're gonna have to pay for the Americans today. It's kind of as good as it's getting as far as something like that goes. 1.3 for Taylor Fritz against Gabe Diallo on the hard court. I think it's not a bad parlay piece. It's not a bad shout. I think Taylor Fritz would definitely be the way I'd be looking in that one. And then we've got Christopher O'Connell, Alex de Minaur. What is to be said about this? De Minaur, 1.08. Now the first thing I'm looking at in this one is obviously going to be the spread with Christopher O'Connell. Gives us his best tennis on the hard court. Is it going to be anywhere near enough to take out Alex de Minaur in the form that he is in? I doubt it. I highly doubt it, but one can hope. It's okay to dream. Fairly decent on the hard court, I'll give him that. Like I said, the first thing I'm looking at, that spread, 5.5, 1 game away. Commissani was 1 game away from covering that 5.5, and he looked like absolute shit in that second set. Going into the second one, I thought that 5.5 was done. I thought it was done. But Commissani had different ideas. Not much you can do about that, but it still stands. He managed to keep it close. I think Christopher O'Connell is much more suited to the surface than Francisco Commissani. I would like to think O'Connell could cover that 5.5 spread. He looked really good against Tsitsipas, got to give him that. Although it's not exactly the same Tsitsipas as what we're used to. It's nowhere near prime Tsitsipas, let's admit it. But a win's a win. 6-4, 4-6. Easily could have just shot himself in that third set, but he didn't. He come back and smoked him 6-2. Fantastic. And he absolutely drilled Seng in the first round too. 6-1, 6-2. It's nice. Things are looking good over in Toronto for Christopher O'Connell. But just as a touch on the 5.5, the tournament prior to this over in Washington. 6-3, 6-2 by Ethan Quinn. He would not have covered that spread, and that was against Ethan Quinn. So that kind of throws a spanner in the works regarding the plan with the spread. But every other match before that, he has went, let me just double check, I've just added 12-8. 12-8 on the hard court this season. Every other match, apart from the Ethan Quinn, and when he played Jack Draper in Doha, he'd have covered that 5.5 against everyone else. Rinderknech, Watanuki, Van der Sandschul, Dimitrov. Yeah, that's pretty much all he's played. That's pretty much all he's played. It's not promising, is it? That's not very promising whatsoever. Even his losses, though, I probably should mention the losses there more important. Alex Michelsen, he'd have covered it against him. Kekmanovic, Tommy Paul, Jack Draper, no. Berrettini, he'd have covered that twice. Carbias, like I said. So, out of all them matches, just the two he'd have failed to cover that 5.5. So I feel like just throwing one out there, I don't think you could do much wrong. We're taking a little bit of that today. You've got to bite the bullet and take it, unless you're a fucking idiot and you're taking de Minaur 1.07. So you don't need me to tell you that he's probably going to beat Christopher O'Connell. Still riding all the momentum, riding all the form off of that title in Washington. Looked rather good against Commissania. Doesn't look like slowing down. I am definitely expecting them to win this one. They've played each other once before, nearly 10 years ago, 2016. Why haven't these played each other since? That's mad, innit? That's mad. Straight sets for Christopher O'Connell, nearly 10 years ago. Doesn't mean fuck all to us now. Alex de Minaur for the win. O'Connell on the spread. If you're being very, very brave, and I do mean very, very brave, like I say, just going off what we've seen already on the surface, that'd be the way I feel like you'd be forced to go on this, but you most certainly don't have to go for anything if you don't want to. So the next one is going to be ATP and Yuri Lehecka. These played each other once before in the Davis Cup last year. That went the way of ATP. Close game indeed. Tie-break in the first to Lehecka 7-5, 6-4 in the second and third. The return of ATP was more than successful, if you'd ask me. Carreño Buster, most definitely someone he should be beating anyway, but he was always there to pose a bit of a threat. ATP managed to deal with him with relative ease, to say the least. Yuri Lehecka got his game done against Mackenzie McDonald. Safe to say we kind of expected the pair of these to go through to the next round. Tie break in the first for Lehecka and then 6-4 in the second. Now they're pitted against each other. I'm not so sure. I say I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure how I feel about Yuri Lehecka being that big of a favourite. 1.6 is oddly surprising to me. I feel oddly surprised by 1.6 for Yuri. It's even lower depending where you look. I can't help but disagree with that, just ever so slightly. Alright, like we've said all season, Yuri Lehecka, one of the better, well, most definitely one of the best players at the start of the season. He started the season on an absolute flyer, and then when he bumped into Jack Draper in Doha, whatever happened there, and it just basically sliced the form of Yuri Lehecka in half. Never quite managed to replicate the runs, apart from when he went to Queens, got to the final against Alcaraz, but that's pretty much all we've seen since. Jack Draper beat him, then went on a 3-game losing streak on the hard court. But I can't take away any of the performances prior to Doha, because he was fantastic. Like I said, got himself a title, the first title of the season over in Brisbane. Holger Rune, Nishioka, Yari, Dimitrov, Opelka. Fantastic. Just a little bit more than what Artifice had given us. He didn't give us a title over on the hard court, but he was going on some decent runs indeed. Quarterfinals over in Indian Wells, quarterfinals over in Miami, and then obviously we had the clay, and we ain't really seen him since. I think this could be a little bit closer than what those odds are suggesting. Is Yuri Lehecka that big of a favourite because Artifice is just still coming back from that big layoff? It could be 10-5 on the hard court this season for Artifice, 13-6 for Yuri Lehecka. Now, like I said, apart from what he done in Queens, he didn't do much prior to Queens, and especially ever since Queens. 1-1 in Wimbledon, beat Hugo Deline, got bullied by Matteo Bellucci, went over to Washington, went 1-1 there, Zachary Zvada, and then he got beat by de Minaur, but it was a very close game. Good hustle, very good game indeed, high level, I'll give him that. And then we come over to Toronto, and he's just beat Mackenzie McDonald, and he faces what is considerably a lot higher level of an opponent in Artifice. Is he just going to go 1-1 again? That's not really anything to base your decision off, but I think on the day, Artifice, to say you can hang with Yuri Lehecka is an understatement. He's already beaten before. I think he's more than capable of turning up and pulling off an upset here today. If these would have played each other earlier on in the season on the hard court, you probably wouldn't have had a clue who to go for. Probably lean towards an over in this one. Artifice for a set. I think Artifice for a set. Don't know what the odds are going to be on that. I haven't got them in front of me right now, but I'm quite fancying him today, I'm most definitely quite fancying him today. I think pretty much everything they do is rather similar. You know, saves good, returns good. I think as far as calibre of opponents, they both definitely, well, they're ranked fairly similar, aren't they? Let's be real. 21 in the world for ATP, and then 27 for Yuri Lehecka. I think we could be in for a good one. I think we could most definitely be in for a tough one here. I don't think it's cut and dry. I'd be very surprised if Lehecka turns up and beats ATP in straight sets. I really would. He ain't been too consistent since Wimbledon, especially coming back onto the hard court 2-2. It's alright. You kind of still gambling on the unknown with ATP. But I think it's a little bit closer than a 1.6 favourite for Yuri Lehecka. So with that being said, I would probably have to lean towards ATP. Just either edging that one out. Definitely win the set. Definitely win the set. Just got a feeling. I've just got a weird feeling. He's even seeded higher in this as well. 15th seed for ATP, 19th for Yuri Lehecka. He's ranked higher than Yuri Lehecka, but yet Lehecka is still quite a big favourite in this. I know you do with that what you will. I wouldn't mind having a little punt on ATP either which way in that one. Do you reckon the spread will be? Probably 1.5, right? Yeah, it's not enough. You may as well just take him straight up if you're looking at that. And then we'll move on to Flavio Cobolli and Fabian Marozsan are back-to-back bangers. This just the same as the last one. For those that really appreciate the tennis, I feel like this one could be the one for us. You probably you'd go off instinct, you'd just say Flavio Cobolli, right? You'd look at this on paper, not even just on paper, just based on what we've seen over the past few months. No secret to us, Flavio Cobolli, most definitely one of the more informed players at the moment, no doubt. Coming back to the hard court, it's unfortunate he ran into Big Foe in Washington. He got absolutely slapped up there, 6-1, 6-4. Had a bit of a tough one against Alex Galano. Very tough indeed, 6-4. Dropped that second set 5-7, and then managed to pull off the comeback and win 6-4 in the third. Bit too close to call for what was essentially a 1.2 favourite, if you ask me. Should that have come as much of a surprise? We did say, his previous outings on the hard court this season, well, all of them pretty much earlier on the season, no dice whatsoever. This guy had zero luck on the surface. Now we've come back, let's say 2-1, it's alright. We ain't seen that much since we've returned to the surface, but maybe I'm just still not convinced. I'm still not convinced that he's going to ride off the back of the form that he hit over on the clay, and especially when he was on the grass too. He's been playing good for what seems like months, but now we are back on that hard court, and I do have a couple of concerns. He went 5-8 on the surface. He went 6-3 on the grass, 15-6 on the clay, 5-8. It's quite the contrast. Is it not? Fabian Marozsan's probably a little bit more suited to the hard court, I'd say. Not by much. He's been better than him this season on the surface, no doubt. 9-7 is definitely better than 5-8. But we are still taking the pair of these out of their elements. I'd say most definitely they prefer the clay. Flavio Cobolli, we know, definitely. Fabian Marozsan, I think his game is much more suited to the clay too. He put in a good one against Felix. Are we that surprised? Does that really seem like that big of an upset anymore? Probably not, but it was 6-4, 6-4, solid. Hasn't dropped a set. Yet in Toronto he took out Hugo Dellien, and then he takes out one of the home favourites, Felix Auger-Aliassime. Say something about that. I fancy him to have a good go at Flavio Cobolli today. I really do. I'm seeing Flavio Cobolli around 1.8. Is that right? This opened up around 1.5, 1.6. It's now sitting at 1.8. Clearly, I'm not the only one who fancies a little piece of Fabian Marozsan today. It's somewhat split down the middle. It's kind of dropping as the hours are going by. 2.4 is what it was for Fabian Marozsan. You're now getting him at barely evens, under evens, for the most part, 1.9. I don't know. You do pick your poison and you do take your money, and you always make your choice, folks. I'm I'm just trying to do the best with what I've got. There's not a lot to split the two of these, especially on this surface. If it was on the clay, you may have a little bit more to go off, but since the pair of them are out of their elements, we've seen more. From what it's been, we have seen more from Fabian Marozsan on the surface. So far this season, I would probably give him the slightest of edges in this one. They did play each other earlier on in the season in Madrid. Flavio Cobolli beat him on the clay, tie-break, 7-5. Close game then, could be a close game now. It really could. I'm not picking it with a lot of conviction. Not a lot of conviction at all. Fabian Marozsan has beat Cobolli as well. That was back in 2022 over on the clay. If you're going to go with Fabian Marozsan, I imagine you're going to have to go now. You probably would have liked to have gotten him at 2.4. But if you go now, you probably still get him around evens, providing you want to do some business with that one. We could be in for an over spot in this. We could. I know. I think either one's going to come out and just dog walk the other. It's just food for thought, and you just let me know. Let me know your thoughts on that one. It would probably be Fabian Marozsan or nothing for me in that. Right, so next up is going to be Davidovich Fokina and Jakub Mensik. I think this could be a tight one. It could be a tight one. Head to head, it is 3-1 to Davidovich Fokina. He's won the last 3 meetings, although one of those came by way of retirement. Mensik pulled out of that one, but he beat him in Eastbourne not that long ago. He beat him in the Australian Open too. Start of the season, for those that remember that, took 5 sets. And then Mensik beat him over in Doha last year. 3 of the 4 coming on the hard court. Davidovich Fokina doing the majority of the damage on the surface in this one. Thought Mensik done pretty much exactly what I thought he was going to do against Tristan Boyer. 6-4, 6-4. He's just going to smoke it out with that save. Davidovich Fokina most definitely has a couple more tricks up his sleeve. A few more tools in the box, if you will. Played a lot of tennis, man. He's played a lot of tennis lately. Did just get to the final. Coming off that final in Washington, I thought he may have been slightly worse for wear against Corentin Moutet. Absolutely not. But we've seen it with Alex de Minaur too. He looked fresh as a fucking daisy, didn't he? So maybe the Spaniard's feeling rather good about himself too. Like I say, Moutet. But then again, Moutet's another one. He could be a bit... I don't know. It's neither here nor there. 6-4, 6-3. It's a decent win. I wouldn't be too sure who to go for. I couldn't just pick this one blindly. What I am seeing is Davidovich Fokina anywhere between 1.7 to 1.85. It's going up and down, up and down. Call Jakub Mensik even on the money. No doubt Davidovich Fokina coming into this one with a hell of a lot more momentum on his side. Much better form, to say the least. 33-18 on the season, 28-15 for Mensik. It's decent. It's decent across the board for both of them. Jakub Mensik, the form kind of dipped off after the Miami Masters, didn't it? 6-5 on the clay, 4-3 on the grass. But we all know how lethal this lad is on the hard court. 17-6 this season on the tour. Considering you're 19 years old and you've already got yourself a Miami Masters title, that's very fucking impressive. And we forget, well, maybe not everyone, but I forget how young this lad is. 19 years old, that's 1 year older than Joao Fonseca. We've all got a lot of patience for the younger ones. You know, if it was any other sport, and you've just got to take it. When it's going good, it's going good. If they don't turn up, and sometimes they don't perform, sometimes they really disappoint, but how mad can you be? If it was any other sport, if it was anyone else that young playing for any one of your teams, you'd go, oh, look, he's a kid, isn't he? He's a kid, what are you going to do? You know what I mean? He's got time. But we do kind of expect a lot from the likes of these young ones. They've proven more than enough to us anyway, that they're good enough to hang with the best, especially Jakub Mensik. He's fantastic when he wants to be. Very hard to beat. I think he served well against Tristan Boyer, but it's usually the case with Jakub Mensik. There's not a lot you could do with that serve, providing he can get it off. What I will say is this: although he hasn't been that promising since we have came off of the hard court, he did go 17-6, like we mentioned. He's only dropped a set. Well, I mean, sorry, only dropped a set. He's only been beaten in straight sets, rather, in one match out of all of those. So out of the 23 he's played, he's either won them or he's at least taken the one set. The only game where he failed to do so was Gio and Pecci Pericard right at the start of the season, 7-5 in a tiebreak. Gio and Mensik playing each other, that's exactly what you'd expect in it. Could go either way, very fine margins, hardly anything in it. But it's just food for thought. Food for thought as a little parlay piece in this one. Davidovich Fokina may or may not, I wouldn't be willing to gamble on it, but he could just be, have a little less juice in the tank than Jakub Mensik. You'd expect him to anyway, based on the amount of games they've played as of late. And we all know when Davidovich Fokina turns up and he starts running on fumes, he looks like absolute trash. It's been a couple of times this season he's turned up against games, especially as a favourite, maybe not as big of a favourite in this. We've seen him shit games away when he's been like 1.2, 1.3. I wouldn't be surprised to see Mensik turn up and give him some trouble. I really wouldn't. Especially with that statistic there. One game out of 23 in straight sets, the rest of them you've been taking one. It's an ideal parlay piece as far as that's going to go. Today it's probably the only one that I could give you in that one. And then we've got Big Foe, Alexander Vukic. Now I'd like to not spend too much time in this one. I'm a firm believer that Francis Tiafoe probably, most definitely, 100% should be winning this match against Vukic. I'm expecting him to. Although it's probably not the right attitude to have. But if Alexander Vukic turns up and beats Francis Tiafoe today, it might just soften the blow of the Cam Norrie loss the other day, just a little bit. But I'm expecting Big Foe to win, and I tell you what, at 1.4, I think I'd be sticking him on a parlay. I think I'd be very tempted to try and go for a little double today with these Americans. 1.4 for Big Foe against Vukic. I stand by it. I wasn't impressed against Martinez. Pedro Martinez managed to break him 3 times. Cam Norrie could fucking barely do it once. Barely do. I don't think he couldn't, could he? I don't think he got a fucking break of serve, did he? I can't remember. I've been so quick to forget it. He done nothing anyway. It was a very close game, but I still weren't convinced with Vukic either. If it was anyone else other than Cam Norrie, I feel like they would have most definitely taken most of them chances that he'd given them. Francis Tiafoe, I've got to tip my cap to him for clawing that one back against Watanuki. I was very happy he managed to pull that one off for me. I had him on the spread, absolutely annihilated him, came out guns blazing in that first set. Big Foe managed to find what he was looking for and pull that one off on the comeback. Happy days. Nice stuff. 7-5 and then a tiebreak. It was anything but easy. But I think Watanuki's he's probably gonna dish out more trouble towards you than what Vukic will. Vukic is just gonna try and serve at you. He's gonna try and blast them bombs past you, and he has got them. His serve was so much more deadly than Cam Norrie's the other day, but it did drop off. I'm hoping Big Foe can turn up in this one. I'm hoping he can. I think what we've seen from them, just as a whole this season's been night and day. 16 and 24 for Vukic, 21 and 18 for Big Foe in this one. Although Alexander Vukic, since we've come back onto the hard court, has went 3 and 2, which is probably a better stint of form than what we've seen out of him all season. So maybe he has upped his game a little bit, but I still can't back him. Not in this one. I think Foe is a lot more trustworthy on the surface, if we could even say that. 1.4 seems to be as good as it's going to get in that one today, folks. But I think Big Foe would be the one for me. Next up's going to be Brandon Nakashima and Ben Shelton. I'll be going with Ben Shelton in this one. I think I'll be going with Ben Shelton in this one. Odds are identical to what they were in the last one too with Big Foe. 1.4 we could call it for Shelley. I think that is as good as it's going to get. Now, before we even mention this one, is it just as easy as we go Ben Shelton and Big Foe today? Anyone else just feeling that? Is that just too easy? Because I can get that around evens right now, maybe a little bit more with a boost token, but for those two today at even money, I may be very, very tempted. It's just food for thought, but as always, please do let me know in the comments. Played each other 4 times before. All 4 of the games going the way of Ben Shelton. And they've all been close. They've all been as close can be. Apart from the last time out in Indian Wells, but we'll get to that in a sec. First time, 2024, Houston. On the clay, Shelton 7-5. Tiebreak in the second. Happy days. Washington around this time last year. Ben Shelton, 2 tiebreaks. Australian Open, Ben Shelton, tiebreak 7-5, 7-5. And then most recently, Indian Wells, tiebreak, and then a 6-1. Kind of had to throw that one in there, didn't he? That 6-1 kind of upsets things a little bit. But for the most part, as you can see, these are always very, very close games. Not a lot to separate the two on the day. Very, very fine margins indeed. But I would still have to go with Ben Shelton. Looks solid. Last week over in Washington, did get beat by Davidovich Fokina, but he ended up getting to the final. So in hindsight, that loss ain't nowhere near as bad as what it may have seemed at the time. Binak was alright as well. He bumped into Dimino, unfortunately, so both of these ended up bumping into what would be the eventual finalists. So how much you can take from that, I'm not too sure. It just has to be Shelton, doesn't it? It just has to be Shelton. Beat him all 4 times. I imagine he beats him again. Both of them have went 13-8 on the surface this year. What I will say about Binak, as always, I expect him to keep this within range. If he turns up, he serves well, and he can serve well, he can always keep this within range. He looked fairly decent against Ethan Quinn in the first match, but I expect him to win that. He just beat Ethan Quinn in Washington not that long ago, literally a week ago or 2. So, yeah, it is what it is. Ben Shelton came into Toronto off the back of the semi-final surge over in Washington, put in an absolute belter against Adrian Manarino. That could have been a lot tougher of a game than what he allowed it to be. Happy days, very happy with what I've seen there. It just seems that, I don't know, even though there is very little to separate the two, I just get the feeling that when Binak comes up against these top level opponents, if you will, the high level opponents, the best of the best, if you would, just doesn't seem to cut it. Just seems to be lacking a little something. For instance, Dinky's beaten Ben Shelton, Nishioka, Arnaldi, Mahach, Shelton, Dimitrov, Tiafoe, it's Musetti, Medvedev, Draper, Dimino. Kind of struggles with the top of the top, I imagine. I don't imagine he's going to struggle today, because like I say, he keeps them close. He keeps them really close. He's played just as good on the hard courts as what Ben Shelton has. Records are identical. I don't see why he wouldn't be able to keep it close. 1.4. That's the parlay piece, I think, for Ben Shelton. I am expecting him to get this one done. He is better than Brandon Nakashima. If not by much, only by just a bit. I think he is still better on the day. Are we expecting him to win? Yes? No? I think Binak pulls the upset. He's been close. He's been so close every time, pretty much. Every single time. Do you just go for the tiebreaker? Do you go for the over? I imagine we would have sat here and said go for the over last time, and that 6-1 may or may not have just killed you off. I don't know, I can't remember exactly, but tiebreak. You just go for the tiebreak, see what the odds are for the tiebreak. I'd take Ben Shelton to just win it straight up if I had to go for anything. I really am thinking about Tiafoe and Shelton on a parlay, so please do let me know your thoughts on that. And then we'll wrap this shit up with Andrei Rublev and Lorenzo Sonego. You just know this one's going to be a nightmare. You just know this is going to be fireworks, don't you? Head to head is 3-2 to Rublev in this one, twice on the indoor hard court and 3 times on the clay. They've faced each other. Look, Sonego has beat him. He's so beatable. You don't need me to tell you that. We're at a point now with Rublev where these matches kind of pick themselves, don't they? 1.3 for Rublev today. No. Just no. Absolutely not. They're always close matches. Always close matches. Nowhere near sweating at 1.3 on this one. Lorenzo Sonego, do you dare to dream and take him plus the points. If you could get 3.5 for Sonego, I'd be very, very tempted by that. Rublev's just not in the best. I'm not gonna say the best of shape because that probably doesn't come off right. He's in fucking perfect shape, but he's not in the best of states rather at the moment, is he? He's so beatable. Sonego can turn up and serve well, most definitely frustrate Andrei Rublev on the day, no doubt about that. Food for thought as well, just I mean, if you don't fancy taking Rublev, you do think he's going to win 1.3 to 1.4, may seem a little bit steep. You could juice that up just a little bit, and we could say Andrei Rublev to take the first set. He's actually taken the first set in all 5 of those matches. So that is food for thought. Just a little piece of pie for you to think about. Who's the better player? Who's the better player? We have to say it every time. Who's the better player? It's Andrei Rublev. It's Andrei Rublev. 15-8 for Sonego on the season, and then 26 and 17. 26 and 17 for Rublev. Not too bad at all. 8 and 7 on the hard court. That's it. Then again, Sonego always went 8 and 7 on the hard court too. Jesus, I think Sonego is going to beat him. I can smell an upset. I really can. This is one of them. It's got upset written all over it. I fear for Rublev if he drops a set in this one. I really do. You're getting Sonego around 3.2, 3.3, is that? Call it 3.2. Rublev around 1.4. Kind of giving you a little bit more on these favourites today. It's if you're brave enough to take them. Rublev did get past Hugo Gaston in the first round, 6-2, 6-3. He looked great. But how many times have we seen him look great against opponents like that, and then he'll face a Lehecka, a Kovacevic, or someone like that, and he gets beat. I'm not saying he gets beat all the time, because he doesn't. He really doesn't, but he's become super, super untrustworthy especially over this season. He was kind of like this towards the end of last season too. It's the games where I think he should win. He really should win, where he's just better than the opponents in pretty much every area. And he struggles. If you just look at some of the losses he's had on the hard court this season. I mean, Fabian Marozsan, Joao Fonseca, Kovacevic twice, Hubert Hurkacz, Quinton Hallis, Matteo Arnaldi, Zizou Bergs, Casper Ruud. You'd fancy Sonego to be able to give him a decent go. He's done it in the past on the clay. Who's Sonego beat this year? Binach, Diallo, Fonseca, Marozsan, Lehecka. He ain't been that great ever since the Australian Open. To be fair, that was pretty much as good as it got for Lorenzo Sonego over on the hard court this year. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2 and 4. Ever since the Australian Open, it's not too good. 1 and 1 since we've come back. He did get beat by Matteo Arnaldi, and he looked very, very convincing against Boo. 6-1, 6-4. That's sound. If you can turn up and play like that, you'll keep that close. And like I said, if you can get 3.5 with Sonego, I may just lean towards that. But this is the double-edged sword with Rublev. You feel like the easy thing to do, maybe not the easy thing, but you feel like the sensible thing to do is probably not trust him. And therefore, you're forced into making the decision of going against him. I don't feel like you have to. He is better than Sonego. On the hard court, he's a better player. There's no doubt about that. No doubt about that in my mind. I just can't trust which version of Andrei Rublev's going to turn up. It's just... It's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and you just haven't got a fucking clue. You really are dealing with the unknown with this guy. For the sake of it, I'd just say Sonego to keep it close. I would not pick that with a lot of conviction. Not at all. I said there is quite a bit more meat on the bone today regarding the prices, but I don't think Andrei Rublev is going to be the one for me today, although I am expecting him to get it done. But very well, happy days, that's going to do us. That will do us. Once again, another day in the bag. Thanks for watching the show. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it, as I always do. And I appreciate each and every one of you. But I'll be saying good night to you. Night shift. Time for me. Duty calls and all that shit. See you in a bit, yeah? You take it easy. Take care of yourself. Take care of one another. All the best with your bets. Best of luck to you. And I'll see you around. Let me know what you're going for in the comments. If I'm going for anything, Jesus. If I'm going for anything, it's too late to restart now. Fucking, it'll be in that pinned comment. I'll see you in a bit, folks. It's getting late. I'll see you all tomorrow, yeah? Best of luck with your bets. Enjoy the tennis today. See you all tomorrow.